Welcome to Football and the Kitchen Sink. Get ready for in-depth conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro football, plus some insight about the rest of the world. All this, along with some fun and humor along the way. Pull up a chair, grab a coffee or a beer, and join us. It's Football and the Kitchen Sink. Here are your hosts, Coach Schuman and Coach Depascale.
Once again, back at it.
Here we go.
Talk a little. I think we'll start off with interesting moves by the Sark man over at Texas. Now that he's in there full time, so a real interesting interview with him with what's his name over on ESPN, the guy that's on there late.
Van Pelt.
Yep. And he talked about, how definitely a challenge, but, he has been through it twice before. And they talked about almost what we talked about. And I wrote it down and I kept it, and I want to reference it again. The Nick Saban School of Coaching, the Nick Saban Coaching Enhancement Institute. I have it written down here because
he has a new addition. Speaking of that, Nick Saban has a new addition to the his ultimate family over there, because he just named Bill O'Brien his offensive coordinator.
And I talked a little bit about that yesterday as I did the show solo. I don't know if you got a chance to listen, Coach, but it ain't the same without you.
I heard some of it. I referenced it this morning, but it
ain't the same without you.
You take a guy who is successful, with the Patriots, ends up taking the Penn State job, and then doesn't work out, heads back to the NFL. Right, with the Texans, that doesn't work out, and then ultimately now he's at Alabama as the OC. In a position like we've seen a lot of other coaches, when things don't work out, they go to Nick Saban, they spend a few years on staff, they learn, they get themselves back together, and then they move on.
So you know what Sark said that was really interesting, and he said, like, what is it about going back there and working with Nick Saban that is so helpful? So he said, he wasn't sure after, I think it was USC, that he'd ever get a head coaching job again.
Right, because that ended not the way most people end their stays certain places.
Right. And so he was, what he talked about was, because he didn't even know if that would ever happen. He was just trying to do the best he can every day, be the best at whatever he was doing, and it's a good piece of advice. And then when he got was working with Coach Saban, what he learned, or one of the things that he learned there, Nick Saban is so diligent about routine and doing those things over and over again, and handles, like he said, he's almost unfazed by it. It seems like I'm sure inside he might be fazed by some stuff where he's got to figure out situations, but outwardly he's definitely seems unfazed, and to his staff and to his team, the issues don't faze him that much, because he stays focused on what he's trying to do and what he's trying to accomplish and the schedule. So, I think that's really interesting. He's like, that's the biggest takeaway you get, is like how important your routine is in order to getting to where you need to be. And I think that's what other universities, when they're hiring, kind of a coach from the Coaching Enhancement Institute over there, but Nick Saban in Alabama, I think that they probably feel like, besides their those guys' actual ability to coach, which obviously Sark has, and their own talents within their own right, they also have been given like some sort of like elite CEO style training from Nick that gives them an edge in handling probably a lot of the other things that probably coaches may lack, because a lot of times coaches, especially as they're coming up in the way that the college coaching, and probably more the college coaching in this kind of area, the college coaching situation is you're a GA, you're doing one task, then all of a sudden you're a position coach and you just focus 100% on that task, and then maybe you become a coordinator and you're focused on your side of the ball, but all the other things along with head coaching. So all of a sudden you become a head coach and you may not have realized all of those other intricacies. And some guys handle it really well, and some guys don't. But when they go back to Coach Saban, like I think they're more aware of that stuff, and you could see that from Coach Saban. If you go back after having been a head coach, go back as an assistant, and then be with someone who obviously is accomplished as he is, I think they really come out with some things that could help them in their next job. And I think you've mentioned that a few times, that kind of a thing.
Right, because I think like when these guys coming up as coaches, they can coach football, right? Like they can handle the X's and the O's, they can organize a practice, they can do all that stuff that encompasses what it takes to be a coach on the field. But I think the part that a lot of these guys, because now they're coming up so fast, they're lacking that, like you said, CEO type of mindset and all the other things that go along with being a head football coach, the off the field stuff, the relationships individually off the field with players, that other stuff, the X's and the O's, that stuff, they all have that, but it's that CEO type of, how do I run a program? How do I communicate here? How do I do this? It's that stuff that I think a lot of these younger coaches that come up so fast lack. And then I think when they get fired or something happens and they have to take a look at all that stuff, that's where I think this Nick Saban Institute of Greatness comes in, and they go and they learn from him, and because he's been through it all. And at the same time, he shows them like, it's not all X's and O's. This is how you run a program, and you look at his two sayings in trust the process. And, the other one is know and be where your 2 feet are right now. And I think that those are the two most important things that he stresses in his program. And I think that trickles along to these other coaches that come in, after having a not so okay, or being fired beforehand. And then ultimately, they come out and they're that much better at that end. So I think that all encompasses it. I think that's why these guys do what they do. And I think that's what, ultimately he's got 7 national championships under his belt. But I think if you look at his coaching tree, that's where you're going to see him separate himself from other coaches.
I think you're 100% right. And I think that that learning is so it's interesting. I think what's really going to be interesting to see, you have Sarkisian, you have Loxley, you have, who else was from Kiffin. And those are, I think, the big three. Right? Pruitt. You mean at Tennessee, right? Mm-hmm. So all of them are like kind of still. Pruitt's a little bit farther along. Oh, and then Kirby Smart.
I mean, and you're looking at coaches that aren't at just middle of the road.
Butch Jones
schools. I mean, you're looking at guys. I mean, you're looking at coaches that are at big time spotlight Power 5 programs. You know what I mean? Like, these guys don't go to some FCS school, or, they don't go whatever, some of those quote, lower tier FBS schools. I mean, these guys are in the SEC. These guys are in the Big Ten. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing stuff. You know what I mean? They're at big time schools where you're expected to win. And if you don't, you're going to not be there very long. It's different.
Absolutely. You're 100% right, and I think it'll be interesting to see, because obviously Kirby Smart's doing very well, but it'll be interesting. Everybody else is kind of, Pruitt's a little farther along, but everybody else is kind of still in the beginning of their, Kiffin did well at FAU.
Just took but he just took that job at Ole Miss. We'll see where that goes. Kirby Smart, I think, right now has the hold as far as being the guy with the most immediate success. And I think a lot of people would look at him as having the most opportunity to continue to have success. You have Pruitt, who's kind of struggling, but it's Tennessee, man. Nobody has won there in the past couple of years. So, he's going to have some time under his belt. You see Maryland trying to do some things and turn things around, and now you're going to have the opportunity to see what Sark can do at probably, him and I think Kirby Smart at Georgia are the two that are in the highest profile positions to get something done.
Absolutely. And I think, I if he goes like 5 for 5, like everyone ends up being successful. You know what I'm saying? I think that I'm sure they already have guys knocking down the door, but you'll have from any time going forward, as long as he's there, guys will just be lining up just to, if they get let go somewhere, to come there. He's got a never-ending source of ex-head coaches clamoring to come
and get better.
Yeah, that want to come and get better. And when people talk about, and I saw a couple people on Twitter and some other articles about, like, you know, almost like essentially trying to complain and say that Alabama's a monopoly, and the bottom line is this: they're not a monopoly. They're the superior program. It's like they don't have
just what's good, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, anything that's you know, if they're not having success, you know, then they're going to try and knock down somebody who is. And that's just kind of the world we live in, and that's how it is. And I'm sure Saban is so used to that, and it's just part of the everyday. But at the end of the day, you know, he's doing his thing, and he's continuing to have success, you know, year in and year out. So can't argue with it.
So Sarkisian now has Kyle. Is that confirmed? Kyle Flood going to?
Yes, that was confirmed today. I saw. So Kyle Flood is leaving Alabama to go with him and, quote, be his offensive coordinator. We know, I'm sure Sark will probably call the plays, but at least Flood has this title.
And then and then special teams wise, he's bringing in. I can't believe it just slipped my mind again. His name. Jeff Banks. Being the first. That's the first $1 million special teams coordinator at college football. So he's putting together a great staff. I do wonder how Saban feels about it, but I don't, like, in the old days maybe he would have been more upset. I don't think so anymore, because I think that's kind of died down, you know? Yeah. Because he can get any guy he wants.
Like now it's a sense of almost, you know, I think now he sees, whereas it used to be, no, you can't do that. You know, he knows that he could just slide somebody in, you know, and to him, it makes him look good, man. Like, you know, like, I understand how some coaches look at it in a certain way as a negative, but it should be a positive. Like, your guys are going now and doing things, you know, because of you. You know what I mean? Right. I think it should be a sense of pride. I can see where sometimes it can get a little bit. I mean, look, when you lose your defensive coordinator to your rival school in Georgia, that's a little different, you know. But you know, it's an opportunity from someone who was literally at rock bottom to go and take one of the biggest jobs in college football. Like, go, man. Like, you deserve it. You've put in the work. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. So I think it'll be interesting. I think, you know, Texas, he's already sat down with Earl Campbell. He sat down with Vince Young.
He's doing what he should.
Getting their input on it, and, you know, and what makes Texas football so special. I think that's an important part of it. I mean, I think, you know, their fan base, the demands of the fan base are really, really high. So it's one of those things where I think it's important to understand the true expectation that Texas fans and Texas alumni have for Texas football, because as we found out, being very good is not enough at Texas football. And
Jeff Banks is the special teams coordinator, by the way. That's going.
Yeah, that's what I said. Jeff Banks. Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, he's going to be the assistant head coach, special teams coordinator, and tight ends coach. The first $1 million special teams coordinator in college football.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's cool.
That is cool.
I believe he now has the 2 special teams coordinators of the year in college football from back-to-back years on his staff now. The other being, I believe, Gideon, who played there as a safety. He's going there to coach, as well as this guy. So you have 2 special teams coordinators of the year, along with Kyle Flood on the offensive side of the ball. You know he's going to pull in somebody who's going to do good things. Like you said, he's sitting down with the alumni. He's reaching out to people. You know, look, he's done this before at big traditional program, right? Like USC traditional program, Alabama traditional program. He knows what it takes to get, you know, he knows what has to be put in line in order to be successful. I think he's going to obviously line that up. And he also knows that if something doesn't go right here, this might be his last shot. So he's going to give it all he's got, you know. And go from there. And ultimately, I want to see him be successful. I think it would be great for college football in the country if Texas was back on the map as one of those top 5 programs. I think that it's just exciting. It's a good fan base. You know, it'll be good for college football in general.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's definitely going to be good for the fan base. And great opportunity. So let's shift gears a little bit to the thing I think you really want to talk about. That is it a done deal yet?
I mean, all reports have led saying that it will be done. I don't see anything officially has broke. They met yesterday, Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. They met today again. And I think it's probably just, you know, they're probably just, you know, nitty gritty, a couple little things here or there in the contract. And then ultimately, I think that the Jaguars and Urban Meyer will be a done deal.
He asked for a couple things I read that he wanted to get insurance assurances on. One of them was facilities. He said that the facilities Jacksonville has are not as on the same.
They're not even the same as probably Ohio State.
Yeah, that's what he said. So that's exactly what he said. So he wanted assurances that those things were going to be upgraded if he was going to do a long-term agreement and you know, that kind of a thing. So I think that part's and that's
totally understandable, man. Like if you want to be all in, that's great. But look, I'm coming here. You got to be all in. Like I want this for my facilities. I want this. I want that. You know what I mean? Like, look, if you're willing, and I'm sure, you know, there's going to be movement here or there, but that's part of this whole thing. You know what I mean? You want me to come there, then we got to do this. And ultimately that will, you know, put us over the top. So, you know, I get it. I totally get it. And, you know, he's making this he doesn't have to make this move. You know what I mean? This is Jacksonville wanting somebody to do something. You know, he's comfortable not doing it. So he kind of has, you know, in my eyes, he kind of has a little bit more control, you know?
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that Jacksonville's the owner there. I mean, they all have buku bucks, but he seems like, you know, he's trying to get that consistency level, and he's trying to do the things necessary to do that. And well,
look, know, I mean,
they were close. They were close to their own,
right? They got the number 1 draft pick. They probably have a ton of cap room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they have 4. I think they have 4 picks in the top 45.
And listen, it's Florida. There's no state tax. It's appealing for players to go there no matter how good the franchise is, right? More in your paycheck. So
I don't think players know that as much as they should, in all honesty.
I'm sure it's something that's, I mean, I know LeBron. I think LeBron knew it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, well, when you get to LeBron's financial level, like, I don't think you're worried. I mean, obviously, you want to keep as much.
Well, remember that was his second deal, so he knew this is going to be my time to make as much money as I can in my prime. Let's do it. I might as well go to Miami. I mean, I just think that that's something, like you said. I don't think many players take that into account. I don't think many players realize that. But you know, when you're getting, you know, half of your paychecks coming from the state of Florida with no state tax, I think it starts to matter when you're a younger player, and now you're an NFL player where you have 3 years max in the league. So, you know what I mean? Like, let me maximize everything I can while I'm healthy and make things happen. And I also think that, like, you know, Urban Meyer is enticing. If I'm a player and you're telling me Urban Meyer is going to be my coach, yeah, I'm going to look to maybe a lesser franchise, because we have the opportunity to do something unprecedented. And you know that the cameras are going to be on him all the time. The spotlight's going to be there. If that's something that I want, there we go. Let's do it.
It's going to be interesting. Urban Meyer, the next college coach to take the plunge into the NFL. it's been difficult for a lot of those guys. It is a different kind of ball of wax, but
right. I mean, you look at it like, there hasn't been much success in it. I would have to look back probably to
successful guys.
Jimmy Johnson, Cowboys.
You going back that far, you think?
Who's done it since?
Who's been successful as a college coach in the NFL?
I don't even know if I can come up with many names.
Yeah. You're right. I'm struggling with.
Carroll?
Pete Carroll would be the number one guy. Pete Carroll.
And look at how many times
you could argue though that Pete Carroll was really a pro coach who went to college, not the other way around.
That's what I'm saying. Like he went the other way.
Right, which it doesn't the other way. It's probably like a mixed bag, but they seem to have
like Jim Mora Jr.
Yeah, Jim Mora Jr. was a college guy.
UCLA, right? Wasn't he in the NFL and then went to UCLA?
Right, like these guys were pro guys first, right? It's like a mixed bag.
You don't see the other
as much. Just because I think that what makes a college coach so special, the organization, the
control of everything,
the controlling of everything is different in the NFL because really
you're working with grown men.
Right. You're almost more like a manager.
Like right now.
Like a manager, like baseball. You know what I'm saying? Like, how they manage the team. Like, put everybody in the right spots. Make sure you have the right team chemistry. Make sure you have the right mix of individuals on the team. Meaning,
how do you handle those individuals?
You don't have like if you have, let's say, two personalities that are high conflicts type of people. You don't want them on the team.
It's your job to balance it. It's your job to make it work.
You got to figure out exactly. You got to figure out the right mix of individuals, personalities, abilities to make it all work, which is totally different.
I mean, look at the guy that just got fired from Jacksonville, Doug Marrone, right? Syracuse.
And he was a pro guy originally, though, but he was really a pro guy that went to Syracuse.
And there you go again, another guy that's.
Yeah, it's interesting. Dang,
Charlie Williams.
Someone's reaching out to you. Yeah, man. Interesting stuff. Yeah. Yesterday I touched on
Vrabel.
I think Vrabel was a pro coach from the get-go. But
then Ohio State for a little bit. Just you're talking like they just take one job in college and then go right back to the pro.
Yeah. So I'm considering like pro guys that are kind of in the pros, but then they take maybe a job in college and they come back.
Look at Nick Saban. He went and came back.
Right. Nick Saban is a college coach. Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh. What's he?
Had success in the pros. Jim Harbaugh would be one of those guys who I say is actually both.
He can go back and forth.
Yeah, because he could do the pro thing, but he really, I think, has a better probably knack at the college level. But he's been in the pros, he's been around it so much that he kind of is one of the him and Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll is more successful at it, but him and Pete Carroll are guys that can go back and forth, I think.
Right. It's crazy because you look at like Pete Carroll, it almost looks like when you look at him from his days at USC to his days as a pro coach, like you kind of see this in my eyes, like you see the same guy, right? He's out there, he's bouncing around, he's laughing, he's smiling, you know what I mean? But he's still doing the same thing. Some of these guys, I think, change when they go into the NFL because they can't act that same way. You're dealing with grown men now with families and responsibilities, but Pete Carroll to me never changed. And that's one of the things that they were talking about today is how does Urban Meyer but you see Urban Meyer is a different type of coach, he's not a guy like, when you compare him to Pete Carroll, like I said, Pete Carroll's loose. He's out there. He's smiling. He's doing this.
Urban Meyer's intense.
Urban Meyer is strictly business.
He's intense too.
You know what I mean? Like even in these later years, you see even Nick Saban start to smile a little bit more. You never saw that in his younger days. You know, I think that's just an he's adapted with the times and wrong. But at the end of the day, that CEO type of strictly business, I think, is going to work in the NFL. And that's what I think he's going to need to be successful in the NFL. And that's him anyway,
Makes a lot of sense.
I thought one of the most interesting things too, and I was talking to you about it before we got on the air here, was who he could possibly bring with him to Jacksonville. And they started with, it was, what happens to Ohio State if Urban gets this job? And there were 4 names that were linked, to Urban taking him with him, that are currently on the Ohio State staff. 2 on the defensive side of the ball, 2 on the offense. You got Kerry Coombs, who's the defensive coordinator, along with Greg Madison, who's the co-defensive coordinator. Now, Kerry Coombs spent time with Vrabel and the Titans in the NFL, so he has some of that there. Madison, I believe, was with Michigan, correct?
Michigan, now he's with Ohio State.
Right. And then Corey Dennis, who's the QB coach, and Brian Hartline, who played at Ohio State and in the NFL for a couple of years. And as he's the wide receivers guy. So those 4 names right away linked from Ohio State directly to, Urban going to the Jags. And I'm sure he has his list of guys. And it's ultimately going to be whether or not they want to follow and make that leap. But it'll be interesting to see when he goes there and puts that staff together, who actually comes with him, or who he brings along with him.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting. It's going to be that staff that he's going to have is going to probably be mostly college guys, and that are going to pros for the first time. So that's really going to be interesting, and how that all gets handled and dealt with. What was I going to say? It slipped my mind now. There's something with that, with Urban Meyer that I wanted to mention, but until I remember it.
Chris asked in the comments, he said, what are your top 5 programs in college football that you'd like to see in the mix that are, quote, down? Well, I mean, that obviously define, what's the definition of down? For me, number 1 right off the bat is I'd love to see the University of Miami get back into the whole scheme of things. You know what I mean? I'd love to see the University of Miami be, quote, more relevant than they've been. They always have a run at some point in the year where they're getting talked about, but then they, just lay an egg and end the season that way. So I'd love to see the University of Miami get back into it. That's definitely my number 1.
What was I going to say? Chris, yeah. So the 5 programs that you'd like to see in the mix that are down. All right, let's answer this question, and then I guess we could also answer what the Duval Jen. Thank you for reaching out, which means Duval County, Jacksonville area. So we'll address this question as well, and keep the feedback coming. We love it. It helps make the show go along, especially when I'm exhausted and tired. You know what I'm saying? So you keep going so I don't yawn anymore. All right, here we go. You said this before. What are the top 5 programs that you'd like to see in the mix that are down? All right, I'll let you go first. You should have hit a drop with it or no?
Go for it. More drops, the better.
More drops. Just it's funny. I got a coffee and somehow it made me tired. Did that ever happen to you? You get a coffee, all of a sudden you're tired after it?
Absolutely nothing for me anymore, man. I could drink a cup of coffee and go to sleep.
Football and the kitchen sink.
I like the hit. Boom.
Boom. Yeah.
Top 5 programs that I'd like to see back that are, quote, down. Like I said, number 1, Miami, hands down. No doubt in my mind, I'd love to see them back. There's just something about when they're around. It's just, I don't know, just makes everything better. I'd like to see, you might hate me for saying this, but I'd like to see Syracuse be good. Or at least competitive.
Well, okay, so I'll let you choose one kind of local team because that's always fun. You know what I'm saying? To have a local team.
Well, look, I mean, if we're going to go local, then I mean, I want
Rutgers
Rutgers.
Like you want Rutgers to be relevant. Like
I mean,
that's what I'm trying to say. Like
I don't even think we have to put that on the list. I think that's just like we want Rutgers to be good and be competitive.
Okay, so let's take Rutgers out of the mix because that's that'll be an all because we live here. It'll be fun.
I mean, it's just different. You know, it's got to be that. And
they will be. And they will be.
Yeah, definitely.
Shout
Miami,
we'll
Miami definitely. I do want to see Texas do well. I'd love to see, like I just said, I've never really seen it, so I'd love to see Syracuse at least be competitive. There's just something about, I don't know. I'd like to see them be competitive. I love Virginia Tech. I think when Va Tech was rocking and rolling for those couple of years, I think that's good. I feel like I'm going all East Coast.
Well, it's what you know, so I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
I hate it when Michigan's bad. Like the world doesn't seem right if Michigan's not good.
That doesn't affect.
They've been competitive, but they just don't. They never get to where you want to be, and they don't beat Ohio State. But I guess I could go with that. Miami, Texas, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Michigan, in no particular order, other than Miami at 1.
All right. Who would I like to see top 5? I think Texas is definitely one. I'd like to see Maryland competitive. I just think
I think if there's any time for them to do it, I think it's now.
I've always found them intriguing. They've always struggled. They've always break your heart. If you're like Maryland,
area is a hot spot right now.
Maryland is one of those places that I would guess. I'm not like a quote unquote Maryland fan, but like if I was a Maryland fan, I would say that that's a place that breaks your heart a lot.
Makes sense.
You know, like my Huskies. So obviously, I would take my Huskies out of the mix because obviously I'd like to see my alma mater be in the mix. I can honestly say that besides them, I'm trying to do the West Coast.
That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah. I have to say UCLA. Like to me,
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
You know, well, there is that UCLA part of me. There's a small part of that, like.
So you would go UCLA over USC?
Well, I think USC is really not far away.
But if you had to pick one of those two, like to be which school you would lobby for,
you know. The Reggie Bush era, I enjoyed USC, but I like to root against USC.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
I'm more of a hopeful UCLA person. Like
makes sense.
Hoping they're going to be good because I think it makes it interesting. Like they've had times when they were there, and then they go in these long droughts. I can't understand. It's hard for me having been on UCLA's campus. So obviously I'm not from California, so I don't really know exactly what the situation is. But having been on that campus and where it's located, my mind is boggled as to why it's not in the neighborhood of USC and Oregon on the regular.
I got one I forgot.
Who'd you forget?
Popped in my head.
Who?
Nebraska.
Nebraska would be good.
I'd like to see Nebraska.
My only issue with Nebraska is wanting them is I want Nebraska triple option Nebraska. So
right, you don't want Scott Frost spread it out Nebraska.
I mean, they obviously have to do that to succeed, but like I that's what makes it hard for Nebraska. people really who know Nebraska from its heyday in the 90s and the 80s.
Right. They did things different. They utilized those Nebraska kids to run what they would be successful at, which was that triple option. You can't take just these Nebraska kids it was, home of the walk-on and chuck it around. You just don't have the cats. You don't have the dudes.
And there was a vibe to how Nebraska did things that was just like unique in the 90s. Like when he got Tommy Frazier, who I think was a Florida guy, and
right, you had those pieces that you put
Lawrence
together.
Phillips, who was from I think California, and like he put those pieces together along with his like core Midwest space. It was
it was over.
It was just unique. I don't know if it could be done in that same way anymore. I think you'd have to dip into Texas and really be heavy-handed there if I was Nebraska. Because I don't know if you're going to get those guys from Florida and California like Tom Osborne did. Now, if they were able to do it, I think it would make such a cool mix because it was such a interesting mix. And what's his name did that at Oklahoma in the 80s as well, Barry Switzer. And, he had his core Texas guys, you know what I'm saying? But then he had guys from other places, which made it unique. You know who I'd like to see? Get to the top of the heap. No one's ever going to pick this, but I would love for them to get to the top of the heap because of where they are, and I don't know if it'll ever happen. And that's because I'm an 80s kid. SMU, and most people won't even know it. When SMU was good, man, that was like big oil, Texas. They're right smack dab in the middle of Dallas. I don't know if you knew that.
Even you want to see like
there's stadiums in the middle of Dallas, Coach D. In the middle, downtown Dallas. Is that amazing? Like the Cowboys are away from Dallas. SMU is in downtown Dallas. Their stadium.
I'd like to see Tennessee do well as well.
Tennessee would be one. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. I think when Tennessee was good, it was exciting. The orange.
It's different.
Oh man, and that's a fun place too, Knoxville.
Chris said Iowa.
I'd like to see Mississippi good. I'd love to see Mississippi good. I'd love to see it if Mississippi
I would just like to see Ole Miss and Mississippi State continue to go this way and just have those two smashing each other every single year. I think Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach back and forth you can't ask for more as for me, with those two guys. But I just think that, those are some programs. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great question. I don't know, Chris. I don't look at Iowa as being down. I think they're just, they're steady eddies. You know what I mean? They're going to be 500 every year. They got the longest tenured coach in college football. It kind of is what it is. But I think we got some good ones on this list, man.
Is there another East Coast one that I'd like to see? That's my one question. I'm trying to think
Boston
of it.
College?
Yeah. When Boston College was good, it was exciting. I definitely think
I'd like to see South Carolina get good and then have that in-state rivalry with Clemson. That's the sole reason I would like to see those two that happen.
That would be good.
It's
not overly exciting to me though. I'm just trying to think of
what I do like is the North
Carolina. How about Georgia Tech? Like, when was Georgia Tech really good? In the 90s, Bobby Ross time period, I think. I think
I like what's going on in North Carolina. I like that a lot.
Well, they're already there. So I think that's definitely one that's fun. How about?
Let's see. We both agreed on
Florida State. We left out. You don't get excited by Florida State.
0.
Bobby Bowden, Florida State. You got excited about. Don't lie.
You'll laugh. Peter Warwick, Florida State. I used to get excited at.
Yeah, Peter Borg was unbelievable.
That's what made me want to be. That's what made me want to return punts.
He wasn't even
That
that fast. He wasn't Warwick Dunn. Remember Warwick Dunn?
Charlie Ward was my guy because he played basketball.
Now, my man, the Duval Gent, I just want to. He's over on Twitter, going through Periscope. He said this, just in case anybody was interested in knowing. He said that Urban flew into Jacksonville today, already landed.
Yeah, there were pictures of him getting off the plane.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, his original interview was on the owner's boat. I know they met yesterday. They were meeting again today. Look, it looks like a done deal. It's just a matter of signing on the dotted line.
No doubt. Yeah, Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward was my man.
Yeah, and then then played hoops.
Well, he made more money playing hoops.
Yeah. Did you just see what happened with Harden? Of course you're going to play hoops.
Charlie Ward would have definitely been a perfect quarterback nowadays in the pros. Yeah.
And he would have broke that whole stigma. He was on the verge of breaking that stigma as far as
I never understood
American playing quarterback.
You know, I think he would have gotten an opportunity. Like they said that like he got drafted low, but I think he got drafted low, like 7th round or something. I honestly truly think the reason is because he really kind of said that he was going to play basketball.
I want to play basketball. Now if he comes out nowadays, he's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, he'd make more because he wouldn't in back. Oh, he did start. He did start for the Knicks.
But I mean, look, I'm just telling you, it's a different type of quarterback now. He is more warranted to play now,
and would make more money now in football. But you wouldn't have thought that. But he definitely would have. And whereas back then, even if he was, I'm all in for football, he would have been a 3rd round draft pick, 4th round draft pick instead of 7th. He'd been a
career backup. They'd have tried to make him a receiver or something.
And he would have never made the money he made. So and he might have liked basketball a lot. Like he didn't get he played in college, but he didn't get to play. He had to miss half the season because he was playing football.
Julius Peppers. He started for North Carolina basketball, dude. Like
freak.
The starting University of North Carolina during that time, the starting quarterback and Julius Peppers both started on the basketball team. Like, whoa, baby.
Oh, was that
Capel, I think.
What
was the quarterback? I think the quarterback's name was Capel.
No, Jeff Capel's a basketball player. It was
I think he was.
No, he played in the league.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's I'll tell you right now. Hold on. I can find him. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure out what to type into Google to find him.
Hang on. I just typed in some craziness.
He played with Julius. He played with Julius Peppers?
Yep.
Or was he after Julius Peppers? No, that's not what I'm looking for. Come on, Google, give me some information. It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, God. Let me see if we can get here. 2 sport athletes. All right, the history of 2 sport athletes in North Carolina. This is going to give us a chance. And finding it out. You ready?
Here it is. I'm going to find
Ronald Curry. That's it.
Curry.
Ronald Curry.
Ronald Curry.
There it is. There it is.
Ronald Curry, either way you look at it, that's nasty, dude.
Ronald Curry's a great athlete. Great athlete.
That's nasty.
Yeah, he was.
It's not like you're playing. You're just playing basketball at some. No. This is.
Yeah, he was
nasty.
UNC,
dude. I think he made those guys made.
It was that long ago. Ron Curry graduated in 2001.
Yeah, think about it. Those guys were in 99, 2001. Yeah,
that much time.
They were playing the Duke teams. They were playing the Duke national championship teams with Jason Williams and Carlos Boozer and Dunleavy. And those
guys are old men now.
most of those guys are out of the league.
Peppers last for a long time. Is he still in or is he
long time?
He when did he retire?
Because he was with Carolina. Then I believe he was with the Bears for a little. I know he was with Green Bay for a little.
Greg Little played basketball too. Remember him? 2009, yes. NUC alum. 2009. I have an interesting Greg Little story. He was, I guess there was a kid at one of our camps. Greg Little was already at North Carolina. I know recruiting was a little different back then. Now you definitely get in trouble for this. But it was at his high school, and he was decked out in North Carolina gear and just hanging out with me, like,
Myron Roll.
And there was all these stars there, all these star athletes. And
Chris, you're talking about Myron Roll.
Myron Roll was Florida State.
That's what he's talking about.
Who's talking about Myron Roll?
Chris just said it in our comments on this. He was talking about, Rogue Scholar. He's a Jersey guy.
Yeah, he went to the Huns.
Turned down the NFL. He actually played in the NFL. I think he went to camp with the Titans, and then he went to brain surgeon. Yep, he was doing a lot of stuff, Chris, on the front lines for COVID. Just being a voice.
Well, he's a doctor. He's a doctor.
Yeah, he's a doctor in Boston. Brain surgeon, dude.
He was always a brilliant. Always. What? Monster. Yeah.
It's a big boy. But anyway, I'm sorry, I distracted you.
No, I'm good. I think I said my piece. What was I gonna say? Yeah, that's interesting stuff. So okay, so that was a good little subtopic. I have one other subtopic for you, and I'd love if you could name the school without going to Football Scoop. By the way, do you know the newest FCS program? There's a new FCS scholarship program. Any guess? I'll give you a hint. It's in Texas.
I don't know. They're FCS.
They will next year be an FCS program.
No.
It's crazy. I never even heard of the school ever in my life. It is the University of Texas at. Are you ready? University of Texas at Rio Grande Valley. FCS.
Why not?
It's amazing.
Recently, a lot of these schools make the FCS to FBS jump. Like you're talking about schools like Old Dominion, and schools like Coastal Carolina.
Well, have you ever heard of Incarnate Word?
No.
They're an FCS school that's going FBS. They're in Texas. Yeah, Texas is growing so fast, I think, as a state.
Population-wise, people are just flocking there.
Right, that I think it gets to a point where they are willing to.
Yeah, because people are just running out of the Northeast.
Yeah, and California. You gotta remember California.
And this has made even more. This pandemic has only made people want to leave more.
Interesting.
This was happening already. This just sped up the process. Like, we got to get out of this. There's too many people in too small an area. Let's go.
Let's go. Time to get out.
Kudos to them if you could do it or you want to do it.
Well, I think what happens is, you can get players. I'm saying Texas has so many Division I players.
Right. You don't have to go outside your state.
Yeah. So many of them. It's interesting. And how about Deion Sanders raking in some of the top prospects?
Just bringing it in. And you knew that appeal, that just goes to show you, like, where the youth of now, where their heads are at. You know what I mean? Like,
star power, baby. Star power.
I can get it done doing it this way, and I will get it done. And you know what? He he puts it out there like, yo, we're gonna help you get it done. So you know what? Why not? If your coach is giving you that, is giving off that confidence, then sure, why not? And then you're talking about a generation of parents that grew up watching Deion Sanders, probably idolizing Deion Sanders. Yeah, I want my kid to go play for him, Like perfect time. Everything has fallen right in line for him. Timing, all of it, Whether that was his intention, good for him.
I'll tell you this. If he does well,
it's going to,
he's going to Florida State in 2-3 years. If he does well, he's going to be the head coach of Florida State.
He's gonna write his own ticket.
So
he could be in the league. He could be your next Cowboys coach, bro.
If somehow the guy who's at Florida State now fails, they already know who they're bringing in. If Deion succeeds in a few years at Jackson State,
right? It's all based on success. If he's successful, things will happen.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. Cool, man. What else we got? Yeah, you got anything? It's a little slow day, a little bit today.
It is. There'll be more coming up this weekend, but just the coaching carousel continues, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then
I broke down the Bills yesterday.
I saw that. They're a scary team, man.
They are scary. Stephon Diggs is just an
freak.
I didn't even do any Cole Beasley breakdown. I should do some.
That entire receiving core is good, top to bottom, and they're all midgets.
No, not Diggs. Diggs is a midget.
Well, most of them are like 6 foot, right there.
Diggs is only 6 feet. I thought he was big.
I don't think Stephon Diggs is very big. I don't think he's over 6'1".
Interesting. Stephon Diggs tore it up. What do you have? 120
catches?
What do you have? 120 catches, Stephon Diggs? 120?
127.
That's incredible. That's just beyond incredible.
1,508 touchdowns.
That's incredible. And Beasley had 1 million catches though, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Beasley, yeah, he like.
What did he have? Did you have it or no?
Yeah, let me see.
80.
He had something ridiculous too.
80 or 90.
He like set a record. He had 82 for 967 and 4 touchdowns.
Cole Beasley, 5'8", 174.
SMU, right?
Is that where he played? I don't know.
Yep, SMU.
Cole Beasley. SMU. Under June Jones?
Mm-hmm.
No. Yes?
Yep, 2008 to 2011.
Tell me that stuff doesn't help them when they get to the NFL. Cause it's funny because it used to be a negative in the 80s and 90s for the NFL, but now it's just it's a major positive. Everybody runs some crossing routes,
In his 4 years at SMU, he had 42 catches, 40 catches, 87 catches, 86 catches.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Good stuff, man.
Second team all pro.
Nothing else, I guess. It's kind of slow. Any Africa stuff? I don't know if there's any AFCA stuff. But yes, they had a bunch of AFCA stuff. I went through the NCAA.
They extended it to the weekend too, so all that stuff, all that content and all that stuff will be up till the end of the weekend too. So.
Oh, they're gonna pull it down?
I don't think. I think only. I don't know. What did I see today? I think they said something about it was going to be up, and then I think maybe they'll pull it down for a little while and then just release certain things on certain days. So, but I like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff, man. All right. Well, I don't think we have anything else.
Sounds good. I think we're good for today. Sometimes less is more.
Sometimes less is more. Sometimes more is less. Pete just came on. Pete, sorry. Normally we go on for another hour, but we're done today. Well, we got slot guys originally like that jet guy from Hofstra, Wayne Corbett.
Yeah,
Garfield.
like that jet guy.
That jet guy, Garfield, New Jersey.
Oh,
Time for the outro.
Hit the drop.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Football and the Kitchen Sink with Coach Schuman and Coach Depascale. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. If you like what you heard, leave us a review and be sure to tell a friend. We will meet you back here next time on Football and the Kitchen Sink.